Hello students. Last class we discussed about normal goods and inferior goods and substitute goods and complementary goods. Today we are discussing about the movements along the demand curve and shift in the demand curve. And first we know the introduction part of the movements along the demand curve and shift of the demand curve. The quantity of a good that the consumer demand is depend on the price of the good. The price of the other goods. The quantity of a goods that the consumer's demand is dependent on the price of a good, the price of other substitute good, income of the consumer, and his taste and preference. We have drawn the demand curve on the assumptions that the consumer's income, the prices of the other related goods and the preference of the consumer are constant. What happens to the demand curve when any of these things changes? Suppose prices to change, other things remains constant. Other things remains constant means income of the consumer, price of the good, price of the related good or a price of other good, and the taste of the consumer and preference of the consumers. These are called other things. Suppose other things remains constant, the price only variations, price just variations are the ಏನಾಗ್ತೈತಿ, that will be the happens the movements along the demand curve. And when the shift in the demand curve, other things price is constant but other things changes, income changes, taste changes, or preference changes, or goods prices, it means other goods prices changes. It will be then only shift in the demand curve of the leftwards and the rightwards of the demand curve. Here change in the demand can be described in two ways. They are, first one, movements along the demand curve when it means change in the prices. Secondly, shift in the demand curve other than prices. Price ಗಿಂತ ಬೇರೆ ಏನಾದರೂ changes ಆದಾಗ the shift of the rightwards or leftwards of the demand curve. And first one explain with the help of a diagram here. First one, movements along the demand curve. Here, when change in a quantity, demand of a commodity is only due to a change in the price. Change in the prices, it is called a movement along the demand curve. It means when changes the quantity demand of the commodity is only due to a change in the its prices change ಆಗಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ commodity quantity of demanded of the commodity will be changes. That is known as the movements along the demand curve. And the price ಏನಾದ್ರು ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂದಾಗ ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡೆಡ್ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಆಗ್ತೈತೆ. ಅದನ್ನ ಏನು ಕರಿತಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಮೂಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲಾಂಗ್ ದ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್. ಹೆಂಗೆ ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗ್ತೈತೆ? ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಆನಿಯನ್ ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್ 100 rupees ಇದ್ದ ನಾವೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, 1 kg ಪರ್ಚೇಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ದ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ upper. It means 120 rupees. We buy only half kg of onion. Suppose the price is decreases from 100 to 60 rupees. We buy a 2 kg of onion. That is movements along the demand curve. It will be depending on the prices. Prices changes means quantity of demanded of the commodity will be changes. That is called movements along the demand curve here. And it can be explained with the help of a diagram here. Just I given here textbook diagram. They are not given anything here, just a demand DD curve. Already you know the DD curve here, quantity of demand. O x axis it is the quantity of demand, O y axis it is the prices. Just I am given here rough note here. O axis it is the quantity of demand, same thing written here. Just I am given the prices changes. So when the prices will be changes, how the quantity of demanded will be changes. Suppose when the price is a P1, the quantity of demanded it is a Q1 higher here compared to the Q. And when the price is decreases from a P1 to P, that will be the decrease in the Q1 to Q here. That will be changes. This changes is called a movement along the demand curve. And when the price is increases from a P to P2, P to P2 here, that will be the Q2 here. The quantity will be Q2. It means this is the decrease in the quantity. When the prices are higher, the quantity will be decreased. When the prices is decreases, quantity will be increases. That is, and next here in the above diagram, here O axis it is the quantity of demanded, represent the quantity of demanded, and O y axis represent the prices, and DD curve is the demand curve. This is the DD curve, demand curve, and this arrow mark here upper, when the prices are higher, the quantity will be lesser. When the prices here decreasing, the quantity will be higher here. Always price and quantity of a demand negative form or opposite always. And next axis represents the DD curve is a demand curve. Change in the price leads to an upwards or a downwards movement along the same demand curve. This is the first one, movement along the demand curve. ಹೆಂಗೆ ಮೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗ್ತೈತಿ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಅಂದಾಗ it will be depending on the prices changes means quantity also changes. Price increase ಆಯ್ತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ quantity of demanded decreases. Prices decrease ಆಯ್ತಂದ್ರೆ quantity of demanded increases. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ನಾವು ಆನಿಯನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸನ್ನು ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದೆ. ಆನಿಯನ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ 100 rupees $1 kg ಪರ್ಚೇಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಆನಿಯನ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ 1 to 100 to 120 rupees ಆಯ್ತಂದ್ರೆ we will be buy the half kg. Suppose they are decrease the onion prices 100 to it means 100 to 60 rupees, we buy a more commodities. ಭಾಳಷ್ಟು ನಾವು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗೂಡ್ಸನ್ನು ಪರ್ಚೇಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ಲಿ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್. ಯಾವಾಗ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತೈತಿ? ಹಿಯರ್ ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಂಟ್. ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಂಟ್. ಅದರ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅದರ್ ಗೂಡ್, income of the consumer, taste of the consumer, preference of the consumer. These things, other things changes, then only shift in the demand curve of rightwards and leftwards. First we know the meaning of the shift in the demand curve. When the change in a demand of a commodity, when a change in the demand of a commodity is not due to a change in the price, but due to other factors like income, taste, etc., is called shift in the demand curve. Other factors or other things means here income of the consumer, taste of the consumer, preference of the consumer, and etc. These are called shift of the demand. These are called here shift in the demand curve. Next it will be helpful explain with the help of the diagram here. For example, here given the diagrams, O axis it is the quantity of demand, O y axis it is the price of the commodity, and here price are a constant. Price it is a constant. Here suppose that will be this is the original DD curve, and it is a shift of the D1 D dash and D dash curve, changed curve here. For example, just I am given example, it is a textbook. Note just they are given the two curve here, DD curve and D dash curve. Just I am giving here explain with the help of some note here. For example, Q1 and Q2. Q1 and here Q and Q1 here. For example, here this is the original DD curve. When it is shift, for example, income of the consumer, other things remains constant. If the income of the consumer increases, if the income of the consumer increases, the demand for the good also increases. ಸಪೋಸ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಏನಾದರೂ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಯ್ತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅವಾಗ ಏನಾಗ್ತೈತಿ, ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಗೂಡ್ಸನ್ನು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಪರ್ಚೇಸ್, ದೇ ಬೈ ದ ಮೋರ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್. ದೆನ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ದ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ರೈಟ್ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಒರಿಜಿನಲ್ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್. ಒರಿಜಿನಲ್ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್ಗಿಂತ ಏನಾಗ್ತೈತಿ, ರೈಟ್ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಡಿ ಡ್ಯಾಶ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡಿ ಡ್ಯಾಶ್ curve here, rightwards. If the income will be decreases, here not given the diagram, if the income is a decreases, income ಏನಾದರೂ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತಂದಾಗ the curve shift, d dash curve shift of the leftwards of the original dd curve. If the income of the consumer decreases, the demand for the goods decreases at each price, hence there is a leftwards shift in the demand curve. That is, but decreases, they are not given the decreases diagram in your textbooks, only rightwards diagram only they are given. And next, this is the explain of the shift of the demand curve. One will be changes, or other things, other factors are changes. It will be demand curve shift of the rightwards or leftwards of the original demand curve. Here the demand function is the relationship between the amount of the good and its price when other things remains unchanged. The demand curve is a graphical representation of the demand function. At higher prices, the demand is less. Higher prices means the demand is less. At the lower prices, the demand will be more. Higher prices ಇದ್ದಾಗ quantity of demand less ಇರ್ತೈತಿ, lower price ಇದ್ದಾಗ quantity of demand more. Thus any changes in the price leads to a movements along the demand curve. On the other hand, changes in the any of the other things lead to a shift on the demand curve. Above the figure illustrated the diagrams a movement along the demand curve and shift in the demand curve. This is the important topic, and this topic covers total 6 marks. Movements along the demand curve, explain the movements along the demand curve and shift in the demand curve. This is the 6 marks question, important question. It is very important for the 6 marks question for annual exam, very important it is. And next, here some questions are given here. Some questions are given here. For example, 4 marks homework are given, 4 marks question, 2 questions here total. Last I explained in the last video, that is explain the differences between normal and inferior goods with the example, and write the differences between substitutes and complement goods. That is the 4 marks question. And this one is the 6 marks question, explain the movement along the demand curve and shift in the demand curve with the help of 2 diagrams. That will be given. This is 6 marks question. This one is the 6 marks question, very important question. ಈ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ನಿಮಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ, ಲೈಕ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ ಲೈಕ್ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ದ ವಿಡಿಯೋ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.